NEC 110.26 states that electrical equipment shall not be installed in a location where its operation will be affected by adjacent equipment, or where unqualified persons might contact exposed energized parts while servicing the adjacent equipment. Exception number 12 states that equipment shall be permitted to be installed adjacent to other equipment if the clearances between energized parts and accessible conductive parts are not less than specified in Table 110.26 AON. Table 110.26 AON specifies the minimum clearances between energized parts and accessible conductive parts for various conditions. If a single-phase load center is mounted to an exterior wall and the load center is less than 30 inches away from a gas furnace, there would be a violation of the 30-inch rule. If the load center is more than 30 inches away from the gas furnace, there would not be a violation of the 30-inch rule. NEC Exhibit 110.18 shows the 30-inch clearance measured from the edge of the panel to any adjacent equipment, including walls. It is important to consult local code amendments and interpretations. To avoid potential issues, it is generally recommended to maintain a minimum clearance of 30 inches between the load center and any adjacent equipment, regardless of whether the equipment is a furnace, wall, or other obstacle. If there is uncertainty about local code requirements or interpretations, consult with a qualified electrician or the local electrical inspector. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, in Section 110.26, addresses the requirements for working space around electrical equipment. This section is crucial for ensuring the safety of personnel who may be working on or near energized electrical equipment. Let's break down the key aspects of this code section. Firstly, 110.26 covers the dimensions of the working space. This includes the depth, width, and height of the space. The depth of the working space, that is the distance from the front of the electrical equipment, is determined by the voltage to ground and the condition of the space opposite the equipment. Condition 1 exists where there are exposed live parts on one side of the working space and grounded parts on the other side. Condition 2 exists where there are insulated surfaces on one side of the working space and grounded parts on the other side. Condition 3 exists where there are exposed live parts on both sides of the working space. The higher the voltage, the greater the required depth. The width of the working space must be at least 30 inches or the width of the equipment, whichever is greater. This ensures that there is enough room for a worker to move around and perform tasks safely. The height of the working space must be at least 6.5 feet of the height of the equipment, whichever is greater. This provides adequate headroom for workers. Secondly, 110.26b addresses the clear space requirements. The working space must be clear and unobstructed. This means that there should be no pipes, ducts, or other equipment located within the working space. Exceptionally, equipment related to the electrical installation can be within the working space. Thirdly, 110.26c covers the entrance to and egress from the working space. At least one entrance of sufficient area must be provided to give access to the working space about electrical equipment. For equipment rated 1200 amps or more and over 6 feet wide, there must be an entrance at each end of the working space. Fourthly, 110.26d discusses illumination. Adequate illumination must be provided for all working spaces about electrical equipment. This ensures that workers can see clearly and perform their tasks safely. Fifthly, 110.26c addresses dedicated equipment space. All switchboards, panel boards, distribution boards, and motor control centers must be located in dedicated spaces and protected from damage. No piping, ducts, or other foreign equipment can be located in this dedicated space. Sixthly, 110.26f covers headroom. The minimum headroom for working spaces around service equipment, switchboards, panel boards, or motor control centers must be at least 6.5 feet. Lastly, 110.26g addresses the presence of foreign equipment. Foreign equipment is not allowed above or below electrical equipment. This helps to prevent damage to the electrical equipment and ensures the safety of workers. In summary, NEC section 110.26 outlines the requirements for working space around electrical equipment, including dimensions, clear space, entrance and egress, illumination, dedicated equipment space, headroom, and foreign equipment. Adhering to these requirements is essential for ensuring the safety of personnel and the proper functioning of electrical systems. Consider more in depth the dimensions of working space required by NEC 110.26a. The code specifies minimum depths, widths, and heights for the working space in front of electrical equipment. These dimensions are determined by several factors, including the voltage of the equipment, the configuration of the surrounding area, and whether the equipment is likely to need examination, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance while energized. Firstly, the depth of the working space, as mentioned, is the distance from the front of the electrical equipment to the nearest obstruction. The required depth varies depending on the voltage to ground of the equipment and the conditions of the space opposite the equipment. As described, Condition 1 is where there are exposed live parts on one side of the working space and grounded parts on the other side. For equipment operating at 150 volts to ground or less, the minimum depth is 3 feet. For equipment operating at 151 volts to ground to 600 volts to ground, the minimum depth is 3 feet. For equipment operating at 601 volts to ground to 2500 volts to ground, the minimum depth is 3 feet. Condition 2, as mentioned, is where there are insulated surfaces on one side of the working space and grounded parts on the other side. For equipment operating at 150 volts to ground or less, the minimum depth is 3 feet. For equipment operating at 151 volts to ground to 600 volts to ground, the minimum depth is 3.5 feet. For equipment operating at 601 volts to ground to 2500 volts to ground, the minimum depth is 4 feet. Condition 3, as mentioned, is where there are exposed live parts on both sides of the working space. For equipment operating at 150 volts to ground or less, the minimum depth is 3 feet. For equipment operating at 151 volts to ground to 600 volts to ground, the minimum depth is 4 feet. For equipment operating at 601 volts to ground to 2500 volts to ground, the minimum depth is 5 feet. Secondly, the width of the working space must be at least 30 inches or the width of the equipment, whichever is greater. This requirement ensures that there is enough room for a worker to move around and perform tasks safely. If the equipment is wider than 30 inches, the working space must be at least as wide as the equipment. This provides ample space for workers to access and work on the equipment. Thirdly, the height of the working space must be at least 6.5 feet or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater. This requirement provides adequate headroom for workers and helps to prevent accidental contact with overhead obstructions. If the equipment is taller than 6.5 feet, the working space must be at least as high as the equipment. This ensures that workers can stand upright and move around freely without having to duck or bend over. In addition to the minimum dimensions specified in NEC 110.26a, there are also several other considerations that should be taken into account when determining the appropriate size of the working space. These include the type of equipment, the nature of the work to be performed, and the presence of any other hazards in the area. For example, if the equipment is particularly complex or requires frequent maintenance, it may be necessary to provide a larger working space to allow for easier access and maneuverability. Similarly, if the work to be performed involves handling heavy or bulky tools, it may be necessary to provide a wider working space to prevent accidental contact with energized parts. Also, if there are other hazards in the area, such as slippery floors or overhead obstructions, it may be necessary to provide a larger working space to allow workers to avoid these hazards. By carefully considering all of these factors, it is possible to determine the appropriate size of the working space and ensure that workers have enough room to perform their tasks safely and efficiently. Remember that NEC 110.26b elaborates on the need for a clear working space. It mandates that the working space around electrical equipment must be kept clear and unobstructed. This requirement is essential for ensuring the safety of personnel who may be working on or near energized electrical equipment. A clear working space allows workers to move around freely and perform their tasks without having to navigate around obstacles or squeeze into tight spaces. This helps to reduce the risk of accidents and injuries. The NEC specifies that the working space must be clear of any obstructions that could impede access to the equipment or create a hazard for workers. This includes things like pipes, ducts, and other equipment. However, there is an exception for equipment that is related to the electrical installation. This means that equipment like conduit, raceways, and junction boxes can be located within the working space as long as they do not obstruct access to the equipment or create a hazard. In addition to keeping the working space clear of physical obstructions, it is also important to keep it clear of any other hazards that could pose a risk to workers. This includes things like flammable materials, corrosive substances, and standing water. These hazards can create a dangerous environment and increase the risk of accidents and injuries. To ensure that the working space is kept clear and unobstructed, it is important to establish and enforce clear procedures for storing materials and equipment. This includes designating specific areas for storage and making sure that workers know where to put things when they are not in use. It is also important to regularly inspect the working space to identify and remove any obstructions or hazards that may have accumulated over time. By taking these steps, it is possible to create a safe and efficient working environment for electrical workers. Keep in mind that NEC 110.26 discusses the entrance to and egress from the working space around electrical equipment. This section of the code is crucial for ensuring that workers have safe and easy access to the equipment in order to perform their tasks. The NEC requires that at least one entrance of sufficient area must be provided to give access to the working space about electrical equipment. This means that there must be a clear and unobstructed path from the entrance to the working space. The entrance must be large enough to allow workers to enter and exit the working space without having to squeeze or climb over obstacles. For equipment rated 1200 amps or more and over 6 feet wide, there must be an entrance at each end of the working space. This requirement is intended to provide workers with multiple escape routes in case of an emergency. If there is a fire or other hazard in the area, workers will be able to quickly and easily exit the working space from either end. The entrances to the working space must be kept clear and unobstructed at all times. This means that there should be no equipment, materials, or other obstacles blocking the entrances. The entrances should also be well lit so that workers can see clearly and avoid tripping or falling. In addition to providing adequate entrances and exits, it is also important to ensure that the working space is properly ventilated. This will help to remove any fumes, dust, or other contaminants that may be present in the air. Proper ventilation can also help to keep the working space cool and comfortable, which can improve worker productivity and reduce the risk of heat stress. Consider also NEC 110.26 addressing illumination. It mandates that adequate illumination must be provided for all working spaces about electrical equipment. This requirement is essential for ensuring that workers can see clearly and perform their tasks safely and efficiently. Adequate illumination helps to reduce the risk of accidents and injuries by making it easier for workers to identify potential hazards and avoid tripping or falling. It also helps to improve worker productivity by making it easier to see the equipment and tools they are working with. The NEC does not specify a specific level of illumination that must be provided, but it does require that the illumination be adequate for the task being performed. This means that the level of illumination should be sufficient to allow workers to see clearly and perform their tasks without straining their eyes. There are several factors that should be considered when determining the appropriate level of illumination for a working space. These include the type of equipment being worked on, the nature of the work being performed, and the ambient lighting conditions. For example, if the equipment is particularly complex or requires frequent maintenance, it may be necessary to provide a higher level of illumination to allow workers to see the details of the equipment. Similarly, if the work being performed involves handling small or delicate tools, it may be necessary to provide a higher level of illumination to prevent accidental contact with energized parts. To ensure that the working space is adequately illuminated, it is important to use appropriate lighting fixtures and to position them in a way that provides uniform illumination. The lighting fixtures should be chosen based on the size and shape of the working space, the type of equipment being worked on, and the ambient lighting conditions. They should also be positioned in a way that minimizes glare and shadows. In addition to providing adequate illumination, it is also important to keep the lighting fixtures clean and well maintained. This will help to ensure that they continue to provide adequate illumination over time. It is also important to replace any burned out bulbs or damaged fixtures promptly. Lastly, consider that NEC 110.26 states that all switchboards, panel boards, distribution boards, and motor control centers must be located in dedicated spaces and protected from damage. This requirement is intended to prevent damage to the electrical equipment and ensure the safety of workers. No piping, ducts, or other foreign equipment can be located in this dedicated space. This means that there should be no pipes, ducts, or other equipment located above or below the electrical equipment. This helps to prevent damage to the electrical equipment from leaks or other hazards. The dedicated space should be large enough to allow workers to access the equipment easily and safely. This means that there should be enough room for workers to move around and perform their tasks without having to squeeze into tight spaces. The dedicated space should also be well lit and ventilated. This will help to ensure that workers can see clearly and perform their tasks safely and efficiently. In addition to being located in a dedicated space, the electrical equipment must also be protected from damage. This means that the equipment should be protected from physical damage, such as impacts or abrasions. It also means that the equipment should be protected from environmental damage, such as moisture or corrosion. To protect the equipment from physical damage, it is important to use appropriate enclosures and barriers. The enclosures should be made of a durable material that can withstand the rigors of the environment. The barriers should be designed to prevent accidental contact with energized parts. To protect the equipment from environmental damage, it is important to use appropriate seals and gaskets. The seals should be designed to prevent moisture from entering the enclosure. The gaskets should be designed to prevent corrosion. In addition to the requirements for dedicated spaces and protection from damage, NEC 110.26 also includes requirements for headroom, foreign equipment, and other safety considerations. These requirements are all intended to ensure that workers can access and work on electrical equipment safely and efficiently.